What's going on, everybody? In this video, we are going to be talking about money. If you feel uncomfortable talking about money, you're going to want to stay in your parents' basement and click off of this video. But for those that are interested in the 3 simple ways to achieve financial freedom, you are in for a treat. So if you're new, please subscribe, drop this video a like if you enjoy it. If you can just destroy that like button, I would really appreciate it. Now let me preface this video by saying there are going to be no shortcuts, no hacks, no overnight solutions. This is going to take time and discipline, which isn't a sexy thing to say, I understand that, but from my experience, these 3 things will ensure that over time you will be put in a good financial position. And I don't want this to be some generic regurgitated information like don't buy things you can't afford, because I know intuitively everyone already knows that, but I do want to kind of challenge the way you might be currently thinking, which is why tip number 1 to achieving financial freedom is don't buy things just because you can afford them. In my opinion, this is the area where most people go wrong, which is why I wanted to list it as number 1, because I think it takes even more discipline to have the money and not spend it than it does to ever acquire the money in the first place. In the day and age that we're living in, where you want to flex for the gram and you want everyone to think that you're living this lavish lifestyle on social media, it ends up making a good picture, but in the long run, it's probably not doing you any favors. But we do need to define what it means to be able to afford something, because that's going to be subjective. So my definition of being able to afford something is buying it without feeling any negative financial consequences or cutting back in any other areas of your life. So if you buy a $1 million house, but because of that, you can't eat any food and you had to sell your car, then you really couldn't afford the $1 million house. But if you go out and buy the house and nothing else changes, then probably a good indication that you could afford it. But here's the irony. If you're justifying buying things just because you can afford them, you're not going to be able to afford things that are even more important later on in life. I've seen it happen all too often. Someone gets themselves in a really good financial position and then they don't have the discipline to put that money away, and then they end up digging themselves an even bigger hole. And we're living in this society of consumerism, and everyone wants the fanciest things, designer clothes, and they want everyone else to think that they're doing so well. But if you really sit with yourself and you think, is someone else's perception of my life more important than my financial position in the future? I think we all know the answer. I get it, your favorite YouTuber is doing these big shopping hauls and it just looks so cool. Well, you know what's even cooler than off-white shoes and fast sports cars? It's when someone you love has a need and they come to you and you can help them out and not even think twice about it.
Get out my way, I need space, I'm about to take off. Get out my way, yeah, the frequency been way up, way up. Get out my way, it's too easy, it's a layup. Give me my space, I'm in my pride. I was a prisoner, all of them mine. Now I'm a traveler leading the line. If they wanna cut me, I'm leading the vine.
Look, it's a minivan with a bed. I get it. Now I feel like cars are the number 1 area where people try to create this false illusion of wealth, when in reality, most people that I know that drive a $50,000 or $60,000 car don't even have that much money in their bank account. And in my opinion, that is not a very good idea when a $20,000 car will be just as reliable and do the exact same thing that you need it to do. And I get so many questions from all of you who poke fun at me, troll me a little bit, but that's okay, about why I drive a Honda in a minivan with a bed nonetheless. And it's just because I don't place that much value on my vehicle. Now, my dream car would be a supercharged Range Rover, and could I go out today and buy it and afford it? Yes, I could go out and buy that Range Rover and feel no negative consequences from doing so, but it's just not in my best interest right now. One, because I feel there's gonna be much more delayed satisfaction if I just give it myself a few more years, really make myself feel like I earned it, and it would just feel that much better if I wait a little bit longer. And there is an opportunity cost to spending that much money on your vehicle, which we're gonna talk about later in this video.
Get out my way, I need space, I'm about to take off. Get out my way.
number 2 is going to be to learn to manipulate your wealth. So how do you do that? Well, you either make more money, spend less money, or you pay less taxes, right? You make more money, spend less money, pay less taxes.
No. The grand reveal.
She got her eyebrows tattooed or something today. So when it comes to spending less money, this one, we don't follow that. But what? We balance each other out. That's right. So we already talked about spending less money in tip number 1. I don't really want to get into taxes. Cameraman, do you want to get into an accounting conversation? She could, but I don't think we want to go into taxes. So let's talk about making more money. Okay, so you took my advice in step number 1. So what are you gonna go out and buy? You're gonna buy some Yeezys? You're gonna buy some fresh clothes for the club? No, we're gonna buy things that can generate us more money. So the first things that might pop in your head are things like real estate, stocks, and those are all great investments, right? Personally, I'm big into stocks. I feel like a large portion of your monies should go into the market, but again, that's my personal bias, and some people wholeheartedly disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine, but I have seen very, very significant results from doing that over the last probably like 14 years. I'm really old. But maybe you're not into the stock market, you don't want to buy into real estate. One of my biggest suggestions to everyone out there is to invest into yourself, invest into a skill or into a hobby that might be able to generate some money for you. Because if you love doing something, there's a good chance you're gonna be able to stick to it and make a little bit of side money. Take Megan, for example. She started her interior design business and she's absolutely crushing it. Just yesterday, she got like 3 new clients, all because she took the time to make an investment in herself and she taught herself how to do interior design. She is phenomenal at it. And you guys can do that exact same thing. There's things like Skillshare. I wish they were sponsoring this video so I can make some more money, but it's a phenomenal resource. When I purchased this camera right here, I spent probably like $2,000. That's a lot of money, right? This guy has paid for itself, not 1,000,000 times over, I wish, but it's paid for itself tenfold at the minimum. So you guys can just pick something up that you know you're passionate about, that you feel like, even if it's not $500,000, maybe you can make an extra $1,000 a month. And over time, that will add up. Here's the thing though, most of the time, the easiest way to make more money is right in front of you. It's not going out and doing something completely new. It's simply by doing what you're supposed to be doing, but maybe just a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, I love this side hustle culture that we're living in, and I feel that everyone needs to have multiple revenue streams. But what I see all too often is people haven't even maximized their current compensation plan for their main profession, and they're leaving a lot of money on the table. So one of the things that you can do is just continue to excel at that main profession, because that's gonna result in one of 2 things. If you're like me in a commission-based structure, more sales, more money. Or if you're in a salary-based position, the better that you do at your job, the more often you're going to get promoted. And if you're working for the right organization and you're continuously being a top performer, you're going to get promoted. In the last 6 years, I've been promoted 3 times now, and my income has quadrupled in that time period. So the money will come if you just continuously perform at your job. The third and final tip I want to give you for achieving financial freedom is understanding and managing opportunity costs. Because when it comes to money, there is an opportunity cost for something. You're always giving something else up. And sometimes there's a positive consequence, sometimes there's a negative consequence. And I'll use myself as an example here. So personally, I would love the peace of mind knowing that my car was paid off. And same with the house. I would have loved to have said, hey, the house is paid off, I don't have to worry about it. But financially, there's a big opportunity cost to doing that, because typically my money is invested anywhere from 10 to 15%. That can always change, but that's what it's looked like over the last 10 years or so. So if I take money that's growing at, let's say 12% to pay off a loan that I'm only borrowing at 2%, that has some negative financial consequences for me, just for that peace of mind. So I will not pay off my vehicle, more than likely, until I have to, and once the 5 years is up. And same with my home. I don't make extra mortgage payments because of that same principle, with interest rates being so low. Although the thought of having a house paid off sounds great, it would not allow my wealth to grow the way that I would want it to. Same with that Range Rover that I was referring to earlier in this video. If I go and get that car, my car payment's going to at least triple, right? So if I go from $500 to $1,500, that delta of $1,000 it's typically being invested is now going towards a depreciating asset. So rather than achieving compounding growth on that $1,000 wherever I have it invested, it's now essentially doing nothing for me other than having a nice car. So there's always going to be a negative or a positive consequence to anything that you're using your money for. Now, obviously, I am no financial advisor and none of this is guaranteed. There's risks involved with everything, and who's to say that tomorrow the stock market doesn't go to zero and I lose everything? I'm just saying historically, this has been my train of thought and it has worked out very well for me. But maybe for you, instead of going to the mall or to your favorite store and spending $500 every month, maybe you take that $500 and you go in with a buddy, you all buy some property, you start cash flowing that becomes a few $100s of extra income every single month. You do that once more, and you see what I'm saying is the money that you have could empower you to generate more income for yourself rather than just dumping it in niceties. Now, of course, there's a fine line and there's certain things that you're gonna wanna spend your money on just to enjoy life. Like personally, I make terrible financial decisions when it comes to my living situations. I've always paid a whole lot of money for rent or my house, and that's because that's what's really important to me. I'm a homebody. I really care about the area that I live in, and I just like to have nice places to live, even though it doesn't make much financial sense to spend as much as I do. So you have to really determine what's most important to you and how much money do you need to have to sustain your lifestyle. And this is gonna be different for everybody, but I think if we all just keep these 3 things in mind, we'll be in a much better position to achieve the financial freedom that I know we are all looking for. That is the video, my friends. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Did you learn anything? Am I an absolute idiot? Should I never make another finance video ever again? Let me know in the comments. And of course, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch. You could have been doing anything in the entire world, and you chose to spend a few minutes with me. That is pretty awesome. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. I would really, really appreciate that. And I look forward to talking to y'all next time.